I'm pleased to welcome Jackie Falk. Jackie is the director of Call for Action Madison. Um, the seminar today, How to Advocate for Yourself on Consumer Affairs. I see Jackie on the TV every once in a while. Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then launch into your presentation? Thanks for joining us, by the way, Jackie. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invitation to be here, Mike. I love this. I love getting out in the community. Um, as Mike said, I'm Jackie Falk. I'm the director of Call for Action in Madison. Um, I'm retired. In my work life, I was in management and human resources for many years, primarily in the IT industry. Just because I worked in the IT industry does not mean I'm technical. Don't come to me as your technical resource because I'm going to send you somewhere else. Um, but shortly after I retired, I saw on television that this organization, Call for Action, were looking for volunteers, and what they did helping consumers out when they had problems sounded just what I had done so much naturally for myself and for friends and family members. And so I joined the Call for Action team as a consumer advocate 4 years ago. And then 2 years ago, when the director was leaving, she asked me to step into their role. So I still work a little bit with consumers, but now I work more with our volunteers, making sure they're getting all the training that they need, helping out if they've got problems, and going out in the community, just like today, and speaking to people. And once in a while, speaking on television. I hate being on television, but I do it.
It looks
So,
good. You sound good, Jackie, on TV. So, don't shy away from that. Everybody, when you have questions, I talked to Jackie just a little bit earlier. Please hold your questions till the very end, and then we'll take them all at once. Okay. And that way we can just have a smooth stream of presentation here.
good. I'm going to start out and give you a brief introduction to Call for Action if you're not familiar with us. Um, because just maybe my team and I at Call for Action are going to be able to be assistants to you in the future. So I want you to know about Call for Action. Um, Call for Action is a national organization, a nonprofit agency that connects individuals and small businesses with education, but most commonly helps to resolve consumer issues. So what does that mean exactly? Um, well, if you've ever needed to get a refund and couldn't get it, if you've had an issue with a contractor or an issue with auto repair, maybe you got an invoice or an EOB, explanation of benefits for healthcare that you didn't understand or you thought you were billed wrong on. Um, had problems with travel, home warranties, car warranties, anything consumer related. Um, and you can't get it resolved yourself. You get to the point where you feel like you're never going to get what you deserve, or you're just beating your head against the wall repeatedly and not getting anywhere. That's the time when Call for Action might be able to step in and help you. And at the end of this presentation, I'll give you the information on how to contact us when you need to. Call for Action, as I said, is a nationwide organization. They're headquartered in the Washington, D.C. area, and there's 12 regional offices throughout the United States. Our office here in Madison, we are sponsored by WISC TV or Channel 3, as you may know that. So it's important to know that we're not a part of Channel 3. We're a separate organization. But they're sponsoring us is very beneficial for us. They give us the physical space to do our work in, the equipment that we need, the computers, the phones, etc. And they promote our services of what we do. So often if you're watching Channel 3, you'll see a promotion about if you have a problem, use Call for Action. You may also, if you watch the Channel 3 news, occasionally see a news story that came from a call for action case or problem. That does not happen very often. That's more the oddity than normally. We normally are doing all our work behind the scenes, but occasionally a reporter will hear about a story that we're working on and they say, the public needs to know about that. That needs to go on air. If that scenario happens, the first thing that we do is we go back to the customer and we say, hey, the television station wants to do a news article about this. How do you feel about that? Sometimes people say no, they don't want their business on the air, on the news, or they don't want a camera in their face. They don't want to be on the news. If they don't, that's not a problem. It won't go forward. It won't be on the news. Doesn't have any effect on how we work on the problem for them. However, we continue to solve that for them. Um, the Madison Call for Action office has 12 highly trained volunteer consumer advocates that are working for you to resolve your computer issues. Our services are free, they're confidential, and they're available to all individuals and small businesses anyone living anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, in Illinois, or in Minnesota. Now, most of the consumers that we help are in our general area because it's the South Central Wisconsin area where where Call for Action is promoted by Channel 3. But if you know someone that lives in Minneapolis, or you've got a friend or relative living in St. Charles, Illinois that's having a problem, you can refer them to us. Last year, locally here, we worked on 690 cases that came into us. And we're extremely proud to say that we were successful in returning more than $517,000 to these consumers. So we're pretty good at what we do. The cases we work on vary. We have solved cases that were under $2. And we have gotten back thousands of dollars for consumers on one case. So the size of the case doesn't make a difference. If it's important to you as a consumer, it's important to us. So now that we've talked about call for action, let's pivot and talk about the topic that we came here to learn about today. And that's focusing on consumer issues. I want to get this so my slides change here. There we go. There's some of our volunteers working at Call for Action and a recap of what it is that we do. But now we're going to talk about advocating for yourself. Advocating for yourself is like being the hype person that your future self is going to thank you for. It's an important skill, and it's one that most people have to learn rather than what they're born with. Advocacy is how you will make sure that your needs or your ideas or your boundaries even don't just whisper, but they actually get heard. When you speak up, you're not being difficult. You're taking the driver's seat in your own life. And that's where all the good stuff happens. And that's what we're here to learn today. So, a senior policy director at the National Association of Consumer Advocates says that we as consumers are quite vulnerable right now. We need to be much more diligent about the products and the services that we sign up for. And that's true because things do go wrong. To best avoid getting into a situation where you need to advocate for yourself, remember, enter any new financial relationship or make purchases for goods and services with some degree of skepticism. You see an ad for something and you think, oh, I could use that, or I would love to buy that for my daughter or son, and you push buy and you buy something. Stop and think about it first. Do some research about the company. Read reviews, check with Better Business Bureau about the company. Um, Look at various databases, consider shopping around. One thing that we've seen problems come up with a lot more now when you're researching companies, where is that company located? Are they in the United States or are they somewhere else? And where is it being shipped from? A lot of people make a purchase and then they're being charged um, extra amounts because of the tariffs that have come in. So look for that. Make sure you monitor purchases that you've made and monitor your accounts closely. Um, Check your financial accounts regularly. When you've made a purchase, check the tracking on the shipped packages and when the expected arrival date is. And don't wait too long to start a complaint. The sooner the better. Don't think, oh, it says it would be here last Tuesday, but if it hasn't come by next Tuesday, I'll start to look into it. Sometimes you've got a window to do something in, so start sooner rather than later. Most importantly, the first thing that we need to keep in mind, and that's vitally important, is to remain calm when you've got a problem, to be polite, to be open-minded, and to be factual. Until you can guarantee yourself to be in this mindset, don't start the process of advocating for yourself. And if you can't get to that process, if you are just mad and you can't get through that, that's when you need to get someone to work with you, to advocate for you. Because someone that's angry, that raises their voice or uses foul language is unlikely to be heard, unlikely to get what they want, what they deserve. Expressing anger in any way is going to lower the settlement odds in disputes because it makes the other party defensive right away. So remain calm. And while you don't want your anger to show, you want to be confident. You want to present the facts clearly in order to settle the dispute in your favor. Your confidence is your strongest advocate at this time, your strongest asset. In order to advocate for yourself, you want to take the time to prepare before you reach out to the organization that you're having a dispute with. Part of the preparation should be to research and check what their policies are, their return policies, if you're not familiar with that, how a return should be done. It's very helpful to know what your rights are based on the company's stated policies and any relevant laws. In other words, prepare before you call. It's going to take a bit of time, but you'll find out that it pays off in the long run in getting a good resolution for yourself. So gather all the documents of evidence. It might be a contract you signed, receipts, dates of purchases, copies or notes about any communications that you've had thus far, forms of payment. How did you pay for a purchase? Those type of things. The more documentation you have, the better. And once you've gathered all those documents, take time to review everything so you're completely familiar before you make that first connection, that first call. Your next step is going to be to contact the company directly. To do this, again, research. Think about what the most effective way is while staying within the company guidelines. So you might end up calling customer service. You might be doing an online chat, sending an email, maybe even texting. When you contact a company, be sure to be concise and not to get off track. In today's world, when you contact a company initially electronically, your first response is very likely that you're going to be responded to by AI. So be concise. Don't be real flowery. I hate to bother you, but I needed this, and so I made a purchase, and now it's broken. Be concise. Be very, very concise in what you're asking. Start by clearly stating what the issue is and what your desired outcome is. And always make sure that your desired outcome, what you're needing or wanting, is reasonable. Um, don't expect the resolution to be exactly what you're looking for or that this process is going to be quick. It's may not happen the first time that you reach out. It might, hopefully so, but it may take some time. It may take some back and forth. If it doesn't happen immediately, continue to take good notes of when you contacted the organization, who it is that you communicated with, how you communicated with them, and exactly what happened. With each contact, if a resolution isn't achieved, make sure to discuss what the next steps are and when those next steps will occur. If they don't be satisfied with, we'll get back to you. Who's going to get back to me? When can I expect them to get back to me? How can I expect them to contact me? When will they contact me by? And if they say they're going to get back to you by Friday, let them know that, okay, if I am not contacted by Friday, I'm going to contact you again. Set those expectations. If at any point the representative that you're communicating with can't help, and that happens, ask to speak to a manager or a supervisor. In a lot of cases, we find that this escalation process may involve a few steps up the ladder, but be persistent and be kind about it again. Don't be mad at the customer sales rep because they can't help you, and let them know that they've done the best for you within their job guidelines. But you want to escalate that, and who do you talk to? Their supervisor or manager? Do you go to a public relations department, etc.? And I'll give you a real world example. One of my consumer advocates contacted me yesterday. He'd been working with a consumer for about 3 months. It was a home repair problem. The consumer had been trying to get a resolution for about 3 months before they reached out to call for action. We were working with them in the company for about 3 months and getting nowhere. And so my consumer advocate said, do you think this is something we should let the newsroom know about? Before we did that, we did some research. And in this particular case, this company is Better Business Bureau accredited. So we went on the Better Business Bureau website, and there we found out the name of the president, the CEO, the founder of the company, and the customer service manager. We did some searching, and we found out that the company's email address was first name initial, last name at companyname.com. So we sent emails out yesterday afternoon to the customer services manager, the CEO, and the president, and we laid this out. This consumer has been having a problem since this happened in September. They didn't get any action. We've been trying to get action for 3 months. We're really hesitating from giving this to our newsroom and having it assigned to a reporter and an investigation done. We're looking for someone that can help us within the next week. That consumer was getting help with it by the end of the day yesterday. So sometimes it's that escalation that really happens. But always continue to be persistent. One of the most important lessons in learning to advocate for yourself is not to give up too easily. Should you get through all of these steps and you're still not getting what you desire, take a moment and reassess. That's a good time to talk to someone else, an impartial party, to be sure that what you're asking for is reasonable. Sometimes people, we get so caught up in this ourselves that you can't see the forest for the trees, and someone else might say, I don't know that you're going to get that, but I think you could get this. So talk to a support person that you have. Um, we talked about escalating to someone higher in the company, a manager or a department head or that. Um, Better Business Bureau is a good place to find out the names of those people. LinkedIn is a good place. A lot of times you can get it just from a simple search on Google. Um, but once you get to that point and beyond, you might also think about filing a formal complaint. Um, don't jump to the point of filing a formal complaint with a government agency until you've tried to resolve the problem to some degree on your own. But if you're not getting satisfaction, the faster you file a complaint or seek outside assistance, the better your chances of getting a resolution. So to seek out additional consumer problem help, you might go to a state agency here in Wisconsin. It's the Wisconsin Department of Consumer Protection. Um, Depending on what the problem is, it might be, if it's insurance related, the Wisconsin OCI for insurance, etc. At some point, it might be suggested that you need to file a claim in small claims court. Don't let that scare you. In Wisconsin, small claims courts can handle civil disputes up to $10,000. You do not need a lawyer or legal advice to do this. You start by the process by filing a summons and a complaint with your local county clerk of courts, civil circuit courts. The cost is under $100. I think it's like $97.50. And the people in the court's office are very helpful in filling out the forms, telling you what's going to happen, what the next steps are. They're very, very kind and very helpful. When you file, the court will start the process, and then their first step is to serve the organization. This complaint process often results in going to court, but it's sometimes resolved before that happens. The company doesn't want to go to court, and so they'll resolve it on their own. And that's ideal. If it does go to court, you are required to attend and state your case, provide any documents that you have. But again, you don't need an attorney to represent you. All you're paying is at the initial fee of less than $100. If going to court is something that gives you anxiety, don't let that stop you. Find someone to be your advocate and to support you in that, a friend, a family member, etc. Here is a list, and you can look this up later on who you might file a complaint with. You might come to us. You might go to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Federal Trade Commission, the FCC, even the FBI, or the Wisconsin Attorney General or Consumer Protection, DATCAP. So, and there's information on how to contact them. If this is a general consumer issue, it is here your Wisconsin Attorney General that you reach out to, or the Wisconsin Consumer Protection Division, DATCAP. One final suggestion for seeking what you deserve is to use public channels. Post on social media. Leave an honest, detailed review. Often companies are looking at their social media, and if someone is talking about a complaint they have, That is the thing that gets them going, to get them to respond. Sometimes can be a fast way to get a response from the organization. If you're using social media, say facing on or posting on your own Facebook page, tag the company because that's how they're going to see it. Doesn't always work, but it does sometimes. So, um, as we wind up and before we take questions, let's take a moment and review what we've learned today. And let's start by you having the power and the ability to advocate for yourself. We can all do this on our own. Protect yourself from situations where you'll need to advocate for yourself. Do that research up front is going to help a lot so you don't get into a situation. Um, Remain calm. That's vitally important. Be confident and stick to the facts. Prepare before you reach out. Know what has happened, what the company policies are, all of that. Expect that the process is going to take more than one contact, but don't give up. Again, real world situation. We had a customer that came to us with a case. Um, they were having problems with their Social Security amount benefit. We worked on that case for that consumer for 14 months alongside them, and they had worked on it before that, before they got what they were looking for. And in the end, at the end of that time, over a year it took, but they got $45,000. So take the time, don't give up. Escalate within the company when you need to do that, when you're starting to run into that brick wall. Be persistent and don't let things go. Keep them moving. And know when to pivot, when to get help, when you need to file a complaint, um, and when you need to use public channels. And if you're not familiar with what you need to do next, again, contact call for action. You know, a lot of times we are talking to people and we're just giving them advice on what they need to do or who they need to talk to or what they need to say. It's not always that we're jumping in and mediating for them. So that's it on how to advocate for yourself. I hope everybody has learned something today that will help them, something they can share with someone they know. Um, as I said, I love doing presentations like this. And I really appreciate the time you've taken to listen to me today. If you ever need to reach call for action, you'll find that our phone lines are open with one of our consumer advocates to talk to live. We're in on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, and Fridays from 11 to 1. Our phone number is up here at 608-270-2833. Now, that we're not live taking calls for a whole lot of time out of the week, you can call that number at any time and leave a message, and we will get back to you. If you've got a complaint you want to file and start a case with us, you can do that online at any time. You simply go to the Channel 3000 website um, and look for the call for action button. When you hit that in your upper left-hand corner, it says very clearly, click here to start to file your complaint. So that's real easy to do. If you've enjoyed this topic and you're a member of a different organization that might benefit from knowing about call for action or would like to see someone talk about frauds and scams, staying safe with online shopping, keeping your identity safe, advocating for yourself, any of those things, let me know. I am always open to going out and talking to groups. And so we're going to be around for a while to talk if there's anything that's happened to you that you want to share or advice you want to give, or if you've got questions, the remaining time is open for that.
Becky, we got one comment from Amy right away. It says, I so agree with you about taking notes. That saved me with a car insurance issue a couple of years ago. I also recently had a client who took notes about a meeting with a home improvement professional. She was able to avoid several issues when the contract came in the mail and was wrong. And so taking notes, I think, as you mentioned, sometimes when you're doing these things online, they'll send you a transcript of your entire conversation with the agent. Sometimes that's useful and sometimes it's not. And then we had another comment from Jean. Oh, excellent presentation. Thank you for this. Anyone who has questions or comments, please feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in before I get started, because I got a couple of things, not bones to pick, but something really seriously. I couldn't resolve the situation and had no idea what to do with it next. But I'm going to give everyone else a chance to go first.
Yeah, and while they're doing that, Mike, you mentioned contracts. When you get a contract, read it. Read every word, every line in it before you sign it. So often someone will say, okay, well, this is what we talked about. It says this here, it says this here, sign here. And so many times we go, okay, and we sign our name. Don't sign that contract unless you've read it. You don't know what else is in there, or you don't know that what's in there is wrong, a different price than you talked about. Read the contracts. It's so important.
Yeah, it really is. Feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in. Okay, seeing no takers, let me
Jackie?
begin. Go ahead.
Jackie? Oh, sorry, Mike.
Go ahead, Amy.
Yes, hi, Amy.
Hi. Um, I just had a thought. Could, when you, like, say you met with somebody that you want, like solar lights, right? There, lots of companies are coming around to our homes now, which bothers me, but like uninvited, uninitiated, we didn't initiate that. They're not invited onto my property, but they're coming. And so, what do you think about, say you want them and you sit down with them, would you ask a company like that or a situation like that, what is the process if something goes wrong with this deal? What if, like, do they have a process? Is there a way to get your money back, or what is their process for that? I feel like should be part of the conversation is how do I deal with you if something goes wrong? And
Yeah,
where is that written down? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great question to ask is, what if something goes wrong? And if
Hmm.
there isn't something written on their website about that
Hmm.
or in the contract, again, notes. Make notes on that. And that's a good time to check Better Business Bureau or check
Hmm.
reviews. A lot of times when people have a problem, that's when they write a review or that's when they go to Better Business Bureau and make a complaint.
Right.
So, go there and see what has been done previously when people have had problems. Amy, you mentioned about these solar light companies coming to your home and soliciting you. Um, First thing, when someone comes to my home personally, the first thing I say to them is, have you checked in with the village, city, wherever you live,
Hmm.
office, and are you permitted to be going door to door? Most communities have a law in place that the company has to stop in and get a permit to be soliciting for the day. If they haven't checked into that, um, don't talk to them.
Hmm.
Report them to either your local police, not emergency line, um, or your village office. Also, anyone who comes to your home soliciting and you sign a contract, if you sign that contract not at their place of business, That's when the Wisconsin has the 3-day rule that you can get out of that contract, and that's important to know. Now,
Oh.
if you had gone to that company's building themselves and said, I need lights, and you sign a contract, and then you think, oh no, don't want to do it, it's too expensive, whatever. The 3-day rule doesn't apply. The 3-day rule applies when you're signing a contract and it's not at that company's place of business. When you're, for instance, at the Alliant Energy Center and there's something going on that you see them there, or when they solicit you and come to your house. And there are going to be a lot of people coming around now in the next couple of weeks in all of our communities
Mhm.
offering to look at your roof,
Yeah.
offering to take down trees, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. There's going to be a lot of that going on.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I had no idea. I'm gonna do a deep dive into that.
Good. I answered your question plus.
You did.
Jackie, I have a question if Amy's finished.
Yeah, I
You
think
bet.
so. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Amy, were you finished? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Totally and completely.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because many times, when you're doing stuff on the internet and I mean, I guess I can't think of a specific example off the top of my head, but a lot of times before you can go any further, it'll say, please, click here to agree to terms and conditions. Um, I have to admit, a lot of times I'll just, yeah, and click on it and then just continue. But have there been any cases that you can recall where that was very important that somebody did not click on that terms or did click on terms and conditions and then there was a problem afterwards and because they clicked on that they were kind of stuck then?
Yeah. You're not alone, Jeannie. A lot of us see that and automatically say, yeah, click on terms and conditions without ever reading them. I've been guilty of doing that myself in the past. But we shouldn't. It's not good form. You can get into trouble. Off the top of my head, I don't remember any cases that I've seen with call for action that could have been avoided because of that, but it certainly can happen, I can see.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else, please feel free to jump in. And on the chat scroll, we have one here. It says, is, in quotes, terms and conditions the same as a contract? Is that what you're, because you often see that terms and conditions, and I don't even look at that hardly. Would that be the contract you're talking about if you're in an online situation?
They're very similar and they can have some crossover,
Mhm.
but they are different. Terms and a contract is more, this is what we're going to do for you. This is what it's going to cost. This is what's going to happen. Where terms and conditions are more about the process of working with them. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And then a little note from Lori says, hi, Jackie. Are you part of SOS or is this different?
They're different. We are not part of SOS. SOS is part of the Madison newspapers. We do some similar work. But SOS is going away. I don't know at one point, but that is going to cease to be somewhere in the near future.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it is.
So I had a situation here. I bought a washer at Best Buy and they're supposed to deliver it. We agreed on a date for it to be delivered. At the very last second, literally, the guy phones me and says, we're not going to make it. We're stuck in traffic. And as far as I could see, there, I looked on the maps, there's no traffic anywhere near us that are a problem. And so I'd taken the day off. And so he said, we'll be getting in touch. So, within the next, I'd say, day or so, they contacted me and said, okay, we can deliver here in a couple of days. So, the washing machine's going to be late. And I'd taken a day off. And, used that for no good reason. And I felt that they were lying to me when they said they couldn't. I think that they just were pinched for deliveries and skipped me. Anyway, I this was with Best Buy, and I don't know if you ever tried to get anything out of Best Buy, but it all has to go through online. It was, we ordered at the store, but the order was, all of the documentation was online, and I had to file a complaint there online. And I finally got the assistant. He said, "Oh yeah, yeah." And he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I'd like to have the $150 back for that day I took off and got no benefit from." And he said, "Wow, that's way too much." Oh, and they said, "I could give you $50. I could give you $50, and we're really sorry about it. I'll be credit. Didn't say credit. I'll be sending you a gift card." Yeah, no gift card ever showed up. So I contacted them again. I said that gift card didn't show up. And, it's a totally different thing, but they have the trail of documentation. The guy says, "Oh, we're so sorry about that. Didn't get that out there. I don't know what happened." I said, I'm gonna try again. And he said, "But I'll get it in the mail here real soon." And then I said, "And make it 50, it's $50, right?" And the guy said, "Oh no, I'm sorry. It's only $45. That's the best I can do." So they're like wheedling me down. And then it never showed up, right, again. So I got in touch with him a third time. And the guy said, "Oh, gee, I don't know how that ever happened. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a bill credit. We're just going to take off $45 from your bill." And at that point, nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. And I'm kind of at wit's end. I got in touch with him a fourth time. I said, "I never got that $50 bill credit." And the guy said, "We already took care of that. From what I can see, you got a $45 discount when you bought the machine," right? It was on sale and they gave me $45 off. And, so it was like totally twisted. And I couldn't find any way to go any farther than that. He claimed that he had already satisfied my claim with the initial discount. And so how do you deal with a big company like that where, the customer service is order by order and it's only through a chat bot or some character, that you may get once you get past the chat bot? How do you find somebody at Best Buy that you can actually send a complaint to?
It's hard. And you're not the only one that's ever happened to, and not the only one that I've heard of that's happened to with that company. Part of the problem comes in that Best Buy specifically does not deliver the appliance. They contract with another company, so it's out of their hands, so to speak. But what they're promising, they should deliver on. And you're doing the right things and being persistent and saying, "I didn't get the $50 gift card. I didn't get the $45 gift card." The only other thing I would say is to stop in there, so that you're there in person and see what they will do for you. And I'd go back to my original, I want $150 because I took the day off for nothing.
Yeah, I didn't stop in and actually go there because, like you said, but, when somebody sells you an additional service like delivery, that's still them. They collected the money from me. The trucking company didn't do that. So
Absolutely.
I
They
just
still
couldn't
need to.
figure, it's just like, where do I go? And so I'm kind of frustrated. And it was months later, and even though I had all of those chat transcripts, where they're making their promises, but it never came up. And so trying to find the actual complaint department is pretty hard.
Yep. Yep. It is. It is. So, and
Well,
you did a great job in advocating for yourself. Most people would have stopped it when they didn't get the gift card to begin with, the $50 gift card.
I should have posted a little, like you were saying, I should have posted a review,
Mm-hmm.
and on the website. I don't know if they would publish it, but the review talking about the quality of the delivery service and the
Yeah.
problems, I suppose, because that would
Yeah.
have maybe embarrassed them. I've seen that before, where people will complain about something, especially on a company's Facebook page.
Yep.
And before you
Yep.
know about it, that guy had said, "Here, contact me personally. Here's my number.
Yep.
We want to take
And they
care of
get
it."
action.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to do. So,
Jackie, I have another question.
yeah, Jeannie.
Um, uh, I'm not sure if this is even, in your wheelhouse here, but I just wanted to say, some years ago we signed up for a life insurance policy, and it was supposedly we paid and it was very minor. It was like sign up, pay $15, and you have this for life. Well, maybe like 10 years down the road, we get a letter and they say, oh, well, we're going to have to start charging $5 a year now for this. And I just wonder, is that something that these companies can do? Can they change something like that if they claim something is for life?
You'd have to have some documentation that say that, that you signed up and it was $15 for life, that, there wasn't anything that could be escalated in it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. It's not like it was a big money amount, but it was just more of a curiosity question of can they do that?
Yeah. And sometimes in these situations where, you signed up for something or you signed a contract years ago, a number of years ago, and you can't find the paperwork that you signed, um, just because you don't have it, ask the company. It doesn't hurt to ask, to say, show me that contract, what that said when I first signed up for it. See if they'll come up with it for you with the
Oh,
paperwork.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Jackie, this is Amy again.
Hi, Amy.
Are you getting a sense that there are just some companies that are too big to care? They just don't care. They don't
Yeah.
care about bad reviews. They don't care. I can't imagine where Mike bought his Best Buy. Really can't imagine Best Buy really caring.
Yeah. There are
There
some
are?
companies,
Okay. I just
and
feel like, yeah.
and we notice that.
Okay.
Part of my duties as the director, every month I send a list of companies to a representative at the Wisconsin Department of Consumer Protection, and that list is company names that we've had cases filed against in the last month. DATCAP reviews that, and once in a while they come back and they say, tell me more about this case with ABC Company. Or will you make sure that the person, or sometimes we have a few cases with a company, that they are filing a complaint with DATCAP, and that tells me that the Consumer Protection Department is already looking into that organization.
Yeah.
Once I had, a house repair contract, and I thought it was, it was called repair insurance, but it actually wasn't insurance after I got to checking into it. I thought, well, I'm going to go to the office of the insurance commissioner and see what they can do about it. But it was really, he said that the contract I had was actually a contract for prepaid repairs. And so I was paying the hundred and whatever it was, 125 a month as prepaid repairs. And then when I had a claim, they would just send somebody eventually to repair it. And so in that case, they sent me to DATCAP, which, it wasn't an insurance, it sounded like an insurance problem, but they were selling it as insurance, not
Hmm.
telling you that you are actually prepaying for something you may never need.
Yeah. We see that come up, that type of thing a lot with companies that are selling home repair warranty companies and auto warranty companies. And so the consumer is paying, so many dollars every single month. And they do it knowing that if their refrigerator quits, if it's home warranty, if their refrigerator quits or their furnace goes out, they're going to send someone out to fix that or replace that for them. And they're not going to have that big charge for that repair because they've been paying every month for everything to be covered. But so often we have people come to us and they have these. And what happens most often, I think, is the companies say, well, we don't have anyone in your area that's under contract with us to repair that. So you find someone to repair it and get it repaired and send us the bill. And then for one reason or another, they find some reason to deny that bill, and the customer is not getting their money back.
Yeah, that was my problem that I had with that case, because they didn't have somebody in the area. So I found my own guy. They, like they told me, and then they didn't want to pay as much as the guy charged.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Yep. We hear that not uncommonly, unfortunately.
mhm. Hey, any other questions? Please feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we're going to let Jackie get back to business here at Call for Action.
I put in a thing in the chat box.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, it says, what is your opinion on the TV commercials for by celebrities? I read Car Shield and Home Shield, and I think that's kind of what I forget. I think mine was American Home Shield or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we see
About all
those.
these commercials.
We see those quite often. A lot of times these celebrities, I think, don't care about what it is they're promoting. They care about the money that they're being paid to make that commercial. Also, AI is starting to play into this quite a bit. Quite often now you'll see a celebrity or someone that's known advertising for a product. Because you like that celebrity, maybe you're going to buy that product. And it's not that celebrity. With AI, they are cloning that celebrity's voice, that celebrity's, picture, and the celebrity is not endorsing it. There's some big one that's just going to court now. It's some weight loss medication that Oprah Winfrey has been promoting. She was not promoting that. She was not making those commercials.
Yeah, that becomes very concerning, I suppose. Joe Willie Namath, he's still advertising for, what is he advertising? Oh, the hearing aids, right?
Yeah.
He's got to be about 105, isn't he? I don't know. He's really up there. But is it really Joe Namath who's advertising? I don't know.
Yeah, may or may not be. AI has been around a long time, but it's really gotten into the mainstream now, and it can do some wonderful things. But it's also causing a lot of problems with, stealing identity and scams and frauds and all of that. So it's really something to be careful about and hard to detect, very hard to detect.
When you see false advertising like this, what would you generally recommend people do? Which agents, where do you go to make people aware of what you think is false advertising?
I really don't know for sure. I haven't looked into that, but it's a good question.
Yeah, I have no idea. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Glad to give you the time. We still got a few more minutes scheduled, but if not, we'll let Jackie get a little head start on her lunch before she launches into the afternoon's activity.
I'm going out this afternoon and speaking to a group of women about, what am I speaking about? Frauds and scams, a group out in Sun Prairie. So that's my afternoon.
There we go. I figured you'd be busy. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I'll just thank you, Jackie, for joining us today. It's been a fantastic presentation. And it gives me more confidence, even though I was thwarted by, this, putting me off strategy, it gives me a little more confidence to try and push forward a little bit farther next time I run into
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Really
And
appreciate your expertise.
that's what we all need. And I appreciate the invitation to come on and do this very much.
Terrific. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. And bye-bye.